Hello, Wrestle Buddies. Welcome back once again to episode 3 of Journey of a Pro Wrestler. My name is Dan, originally of the Sweet Show My Podcast, joined once again by the ever amazing Billie Starkz.
Hello, everybody.
I'm sure for everyone it is lovely to have this all going back again after last week. Wasn't here because I lost my ability to talk. That happened. We're getting things going. We're running back up again. And I think for this week, people are going to love this one. Our big focus for this week is GCW. So, to start off, I guess I just want to talk about that kind of early involvement for yourself with GCW and kind of being brought into the GCW fold.
So, my introduction to GCW was during the pandemic. I started going to shows because there was not much running at the time, and it was a company that I wanted to be in. So I started just coming and helping out before shows, and there was a show up in Indianapolis at a park, and I got thrown on for pre-show versus Thunder Kitty, and then I slowly started being used more and more for GCW.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am where I am today with GCW.
No, I think it's awesome. And, I think part of what makes GCW so awesome, not just for ourselves as fans, but also for you and others as wrestlers, is that it gives you such a breadth of opportunities. For you, how has GCW been helpful in kind of those earlier stages of helping build your profile and kind of build your name?
Definitely being part of GCW, I've gotten a lot of more exposure to wrestling fans. It's one of the biggest independents, or the biggest independent going today. And definitely with the people that are around GCW, I feel like a lot of them want to see wrestlers grow, and just having a good locker room and
There we go. I think we're okay. A little bit of lost connection. It's all right. We'll work through it. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's really, really cool in that way. What is it like being involved with a GCW type company? Because it's quite difficult to kind of think about and place. It's an independent, but a very big scale independent.
It's very fun and very stressful at times because, me and Mouse have talked about this multiple times that, being part of something so big, you don't want to mess up because there's so many other people watching it. But at the same time, it's, I'm getting a good opportunity and so many people are watching it. There's a positive and negative to it.
No, absolutely. And, I would have to guess with something like GCW, with the amount of people that they have involved, the amount of people that see it as an opportunity now, the competition just for places on shows must be huge.
It's all a place where wrestlers want to go, and I feel like with the right opportunity, everybody has a spot at GCW or will get a chance.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. That's, I think, kind of key and part of what makes GCW so appealing to a lot of people, because you do have this chance to just see all these different people going and do stuff, and you get quite a nice mix between people like yourselves who have been on the come up and growing against people who are maybe in the kind of more the latter stages of their career who want to have their last hurrah, and you kind of get this nice crossover.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree that there's such like a different mix of talent that makes GCW what it is. Like me wrestling B-Boy there definitely was one of my favorite matches, and I'm glad it's something that GCW could make happen.
Absolutely. Kind of going on with that then, I do want to ask just a little bit about like your experiences working with Brett as like a promoter and as someone that you've kind of had the chance to be involved in the wrestling industry. What kind of a booker is he like? Or
I definitely enjoy Brett, but he also has his moments. But I think it's just like people at the end of the day. I don't understand how he's up at like midnight and 4 a.m. all the time because that's when he wants to send messages. But I think people live on like different schedules. But it's always the same when I get a message from Brett. It's a yo, usually after midnight sometime.
you're just there getting a message at like 3 a.m. just like, look, I've got a great idea for a match for you right now.
Literally, that's some of the times I'm talking to Brett. He'll just be like, hey, are you free this day? Here's my idea. I was like, okay. Many hours later. I feel like he doesn't sleep, though, because if you message him during the day, sometimes he'll respond, and I'm like, when does this man go to bed?
The secret is independent wrestling never sleeps. No, I think it's so awesome, especially with like, you know, everything that's involved with creating a thing on the scale of GCW that it is now, especially having like East Coast and West Coast and being involved with so many different people and so many working parts. Kind of part of it that I want to get at is like just the experience and like the feeling of a GCW show, which I think is like nothing else out there, really.
I think it's just the crowds that GCW have definitely bring their energy every time they come. And I've even been on shows where I'm like, I don't understand why they're so hyped right now. But I think GCW has grown its name and its presence so much that you can travel anywhere, and if you meet a wrestling fan, they've most likely heard of GCW, and it has this awe around it. And then I feel like Brett and the rest of the GCW locker room has been very, very well at delivering on what they promise fans.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that builds obviously a massive amount of goodwill, a lot of love, and a lot of loyalty to the brand, the promotion, and all of that. But I think it gives something quite unique for a lot of you guys performing with them, in that you kind of have this space to just do these things. I feel like it's almost become a bit of like a dream match emporium.
I feel like there's a lot of times where a lot of my favorite matches and opportunities that I've gotten has happened at JCW or GCW. I got to wrestle Makito, I got to wrestle B-Boy, and a lot of these matches were matches that I wasn't getting anywhere else. Having the opportunity, like, hey, this person, I'm gonna give to you to wrestle on my show, and here you go. I feel like when it's important to wrestlers, it becomes more important to fans because they can see what we're putting into a match, or even when we're going out there and performing, and it makes it more special.
Yeah, I definitely always have that feeling of like, you can tell when a wrestler is like invested in what they're doing and they're like enjoying what they're doing. Kind of like that thing of like when you enjoy what you're doing, you get like a lot of confidence to do stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Speaking of this kind of thing, Russ came in with a question. Hi, Billy. Have you ever had an opportunity to wrestle in Europe? And if not, would you like to? Which is just awesome. Just on the back of a GCW X Progress show that happened in the UK just 2 days ago.
Well, If I had the opportunity to go to Europe, I definitely would love to go to Europe. I would like to travel the world as much as possible because I feel like wrestling is different all over, and having new opponents to wrestle would be great. And then I'm honestly a tourist at heart, and I want to go see cool things around the world. So I would love to go to Europe at some point. And you mentioned GCW going to UK and Europe. And I was trying to watch all of that stuff from home and keep up with all of my friends. But I think it was really, really great from what I got to see of GCW there. And I thought it was a great opportunity for people like Cole and Allie just to be seen by a different audience. And I'm happy that that's something they can do. And then the trip to Japan, I'm very, very excited about for GCW, and what I've seen is like going over there.
Oh, absolutely. Here's an exclusive for anyone that's watching this. People in the UK love Cole Radrick.
Oh no.
I don't know what it is. He just came out and people loved him.
I feel like Cole has such a presence that like every time you meet Cole, he's just a lovable person, and you want to cheer him and you want him to succeed. It's just like this energy he has around him, because everywhere I've seen him really go, everybody like attaches to him very, very quickly just off of an entrance.
The other exclusive to that, Tony Deppen, no, not liked. Got a lot of booze.
Good.
No, I think that's awesome. Obviously, there's the wealth of opportunities that are available wrestling somewhere else. Coming from the US, as we've spoken to other wrestlers that have come from over from the US here, you're in luck because comparatively Europe is quite small, so it's quite easy to get everywhere. When I'm there and I say to people, "Oh, well, you know, I can't go up to that show in Manchester. That's like a 2-3 hour drive. Like that's my normal thing. So that's awesome." And then I find out that they've done like 3 shows in 2 days and driven between 2, like with their gear. Going back to GCW though, one thing I do want to talk about is how in recent years, and this is kind of coming from how I see it, and probably some other people as well, but I feel like GCW has become quite a big home and quite a strong base for a lot of lovers of women's wrestling. Is there anything about GCW that you think makes it like that?
Just the women talents that's there, I feel like have really wanted a change in wrestling and are doing everything they can to be the best. Janaya is one of a very like good up and coming woman, and the opportunities she's been given, and you can see her continually grow. And then the same thing with Allie. I think Allie, she's been doing this longer than I have, and watching her wrestle, she always is putting on a performance, and she truly, truly wants to be a great wrestler, and then still have fun, and it comes across to the crowd like that. So you have like a different style of women's wrestling from the 3 of us, but it's all us putting all of our effort in. And I feel like that's why we attract people who are fans of women's wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think GCW's become such a cool little like, it's kind of like that little thing where it's like, it's popular, but like it's not like what often people consider like the mainstream. And it's just cool to see people like in that little space just doing their things that make them so different. And so when you're there and you're like, man, I really want to find some good women's wrestling, I have this place that's easily accessible and I can watch all of it really easily.
I love how it's easy to access, or wrestling's just easy to access nowadays, because you can truly watch whatever you want whenever you want, because there's so much wrestling going on. But GCW is like a reliable product in my eyes, because I'm like, oh, if I watch a GCW show, I know what I'm getting into. I'm most likely going to see Effie. I'm going to see Cole. Oh, there might be this person spiced in, but I know it's going to be a good show.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel like for the most part, GCW has lived up to that. It has lived up to the hype. It has kind of survived the hype almost that you get kind of coming with it, and like, you know, after the pandemic and like really hitting onto the scene, and all of a sudden, you know, all eyes are paying attention. We're getting people from GCW get referenced in AEW and all of that jazz. It's, I'm sure, very, very crazy to see. But one of those things that I love about GCW is that ability that people have just to go where they want and spread their wings. And so, you know, you have these opportunities of all these people coming in from all these different places to have these matches. So kind of with that as well, kind of extending out of the mainstream and doing things a little bit different, there is a little topic I do want to get into. It's going to be a little bit of a spicy one for people watching, which is the kind of the general discussion around intergender wrestling, because I think GCW is awesome for continuing to promote it. So then I ask, where do you fall on that side? I already know.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Cut out.
Oh, sorry. So one thing I said that I love about GCW is their continual promotion and continuing to feature intergender wrestling on the independent wrestling scene. So how does that feel for you to have that chance of those, like, that wider range of matches?
I definitely love the opportunity to have intergender matches. I am one of those people, I don't see a difference between me wrestling a guy or a girl, but other people do sometimes. But for me, I find it like an opportunity to grow. Having other people to wrestle and different opponents, I feel like you get more out of it because it's another brain you can pick and grow from and learn from. And then I also think it's different for the fans. You're not giving them the same two characters that I've already met before. Here's two new characters, and I can tell a different story. So I've loved the opportunities that I've had to do intergender matches. And I've gotten to wrestle Cole. I've gotten to wrestle Jordan. I've got to wrestle with Tony. And that's all intergender stuff. And I honestly enjoyed all of that because it's something I find fun. And these people are doing the same thing I'm doing at the end of the day, wrestling and wanting to have fun doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. How does, for you or whoever you're wrestling with, do you feel like the process changes much when you're kind of going in planning a match like that compared to like just what would be for you as a normal women's match?
I honestly don't. I think it depends on like person to person when it comes to like how I'm going to present a match. Because if I was wrestling Allie versus wrestling Billie McKenzie, I'm going to plan two different matches. And then it's also based on like scenario. I'm like, how do I want to tell the story? And in wrestling, you can be as creative as you want. You just have to get your message across to your fans. And I feel like that's what I love about wrestling. Wrestling is a flavor of ice cream, and you can change it however you want. You just got to make it where it's like, oh, I hope other people are going to like this chocolate something.
No, absolutely. Because inevitably you're going to end up running into people that go like, I don't like that. That's not what I want to see. But I think as much as it's like, oh, you know, you think about obviously what people want to see. I kind of think it's part about like, I don't know if you'd agree, what you want to do, what you want to make.
You have to have a good balance of both.
Yeah. kind of, how do I phrase it? It's that kind of the mix of like not going too far either side of things. It's like what for you might be like the perfect match, for other people might just be like, well, this is the worst thing I have ever seen.
It's like, I don't want any of that.
Yeah, you don't want to end up like too far off in your own world. But I guess also probably for you as well, you don't want to end up doing stuff that you're like, actually, for me, this is really, really boring, but people seem to like it, so.
Yeah, and you have to do something that you're going to enjoy because you're the one doing all of this work and beating up your body. But you also want to give people that have paid money to come see you a show that they want to enjoy. So they keep coming back.
So kind of just as we get towards kind of closing and with that, I feel like wrestling in GCW kind of carries like, I'm going to say a bit of weight to it. And that mostly comes from, at least from my experience, people who don't have much experience or knowledge of GCW, which is that it's, people always latch on to the whole like the deathmatch thing. And I want to say, or at least ask you, what is, or are there any major differences between the people you've had a chance to work with, like outside of that setting, and like other wrestlers you've met that have like never done it? Does that make sense?
Yes. I think I understand. I think there isn't much of a difference. It's just person to person. But at the same time, I think like having death matches makes you a little bit more crazy because you're willing to do a lot more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've been called crazy for some of the things that I want to do in wrestling. So I really think it's how you look at things and whatever you're comfortable with doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I get the feeling that sometimes people take this like preconception that's like, oh, you're in GCW, so you're doing death matches then, right? And I no.
A lot of people, when like I cracked my head open, thought it was on purpose, and they were like, "Why would you do this?" And I was like, "It wasn't on purpose. This is not what I'm doing with my life. I promise."
I feel like that's a strangely wrestler-specific problem to have. Did I break my head open on purpose, or was it for theatrical effect? No, because I just think, obviously, with that kind of that opportunity of like the melting pot that it offers, that you get to see some people kind of in and out of their element, and it's really cool to see like, for example, guys like Akira wrestle outside of his usual style, and then you just see that he's just a really, really good grappler. And I think you end up with that kind of strange mix of times where you kind of come up against someone and you think, oh, and you might think like, oh, that's going to be completely easy. We've got this set, and all of a sudden, like you meet them and things just change and move as you learn more about them.
Yes. I feel like a lot of the times when people look at John Wayne Murdoch, they're like, oh, it's a deathmatch wrestler. And I just see Murdoch as a wrestler at the end of the day. I think he's great with or without death matches. And I feel like people have almost put him in a box because he's been seen to do the glass and blood and all of that. But outside of being in a death match, I think Murdoch can really go outside of that, and too many people put him in this box.
Yeah. Kind of along with that, kind of given things that you have done, especially as well with like things of yours that have become popular. Do you feel like sometimes that people who are maybe new to GCW or new to seeing you kind of put you in a box?
I definitely have been put in a box because
Really sorry, we just had a little bit of cut out there.
sorry, I'm
It's okay. This
but
is the reality of independent wrestling. We're good.
So I would say that I was in a box because of my age and being a women's wrestler. People expect certain things from me, or they'll say, "Oh, you're doing this, and this is so dangerous." And I honestly, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'm not going to listen and just let people enjoy my wrestling for what it is at the end of the day.
Absolutely. I think that's the best way to go about it, because I think, part of it is kind of breaking those expectations, and like people coming to you and going, I don't know, maybe for you it's like that thing of like every time someone sees you, you kind of want to show them something new, something different. It's not just the same old, same old.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think that's one of those things that's so great about having the ability to be that creative, to be able to do all this different stuff and see all these different people in one place. Well, this has been absolutely awesome. Thank you again so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
It is always awesome having you here. This has been Journey of a Wrestler, episode 3. I've been Dan. This has been the lovely Billie Starkz. Thank you so much, and we will see you on the next episode. See ya!